You gonna
I'm
vacate
going
it?
BTO. Yes, get the
Vacate it.
title, and I'm going vacate, and Keyshawn could
I
get that
respect
belt.
it.
That'll be his.
Boxing Talk family, we have big news of two of boxing's biggest names actually potentially finally coming together for a showdown. Y'all remember the Four Kings? No, not the OGs. Dang, we old. I'm talking about the new ones, the little ones, the YNs. Yeah, and you could even say five if you want to throw in the racist Ryan Garcia. But my point is that two of them, and Teofimo and Shakur, could potentially fight soon. And you think the boxing world will be ablaze in excitement. Well, not this guy. Yeah, this loser said it would be a snoozer. Well, he's not the only one that shares a similar sentiment. Some people think that this fight is just a play to get others in a position to have an easier time. Well, that's what I'm here for. To bring back true boxing media that likes boxing and not just a certain boxer. We back, baby. Let's get right to it.
Hello guys, this is Rolly Romero.
Yo, my name is Nonito Donaire. What's up guys, Designer's Eyes.
Here with Bob Santos Boxing.
And I rock with Dr. Boxing Talk.
I want to give a quick shout out to Dr. Boxing Talk.
And I want to give a big shout out to Dr. Boxing Talk. Thank you for all the love, thank you for all the support.
You're rocking with Dr. Boxing Talk. Get your daily news from my man right here, the best in the business. Let's get it, baby.
All day, baby.
Amen.
Bam!
If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. If I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Talk family? Welcome back to your favorite boxing news channel, Dr. Boxing Talk. We are back for another YouTube video. Banger, man. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I don't know what time it is. A doctor's in the house, man. So check this out. But before we get to it, let's go ahead and hit that like button. Let's do it together. Appreciate you. It helps us to keep going and growing on the YouTube platform, and it's free, so I appreciate it. Check this out though. So there's some news, and I talked about this before during the live show about Shakur potentially fighting Teofimo Lopez. Now, as I said before, I'm not really too intrigued about this. I'm not too optimistic about this because this is what Teofimo Lopez does. He calls out everybody in a good fashion or in a racist fashion, because he is a racist, you know what I'm saying? Shame on him. He's a despicable human being, but he is a good fighter, and he calls out a lot of people. Let's keep it honest, right? And he doesn't fight him. He called out Terrence Crawford, didn't fight him.
Yeah.
Called out Jerome Boots-Ennis, didn't fight him.
Yeah.
Called out Brian Norman Jr., didn't fight him.
Yeah.
Devin Haney, didn't fight him.
Yeah.
Keyshawn Davis, didn't fight him.
1 hour later.
Richardson Hitchens, didn't fight him. I could keep going and going. Liam Parle didn't fight him. Jack Catterall didn't fight, but you get the point, right? So he just doesn't fight any quality, high caliber opposition, you know. Then he gives us, you know, Steve Claggett and Arnold Barbosa. No disrespect to those two gentlemen and fighters and warriors, but they're not of the caliber in which he is acting as if he wants to go ahead and challenge as of late, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, he is the WBO 140-pound champion, and objectively speaking, which we always give you the facts, you know, we tell you all of the facts in and out of the ring, but the facts is in the ring, Teofimo Lopez is a good fighter. I would even say he's the best fighter at 140. You know, you got to give him that respect, whether he is or not. That's yet to be seen. But what I'm saying is that from a longevity standpoint, the fact that he's the longest reigning champion at 140 and he's the most decorated champion at 140, I have to rank him number one. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have to like him as a person because he is racist. You see what I'm saying? And despicable and an idiot and ignorant. But anyway, let's go back to what I was saying in the intro. He is one of the four kings, right? The little four kings. And like I said, you could say five if you want to add Ryan Garcia in there, but according to this picture, as you can see, remember years ago, before we even knew who Keyshawn was, we said that the four kings was Shakur Stevenson, Gervonta Tank Davis, Teofimo Lopez, and Devin Haney. And what did we complain about? We complained that they would not mix it up with each other. So two of them are deciding that they can finally actually potentially fight in January, possibly. And you got people like this person coming out and saying that it would be a snooze fest, that the fight is not really worth it. And I don't mind you having an opinion, you know, but if you're working in the capacity of a boxing expert, aficionado, or a pundit, shouldn't you have some tact and discernment? Even if you don't really like it personally, shouldn't you be able to say, oh man, this is a good fight for boxing because we have two guys that are contemporaries, two guys that are very decorated and dominant in their own fields of division, in their line of work, and they're coming together to fight? How could this be a snoozer? You see what I'm saying? Unless you are a loser that doesn't really like boxing as much as you put on, but you are more so a fan of a boxer in particular, as opposed to a fan of the sport.
Nigga, you's a bitch!
And when Andre Ward responds like this, like, really? How could you say this? The guy gets mad and throws another shot at Andre Ward. Which I agree with that shot anyway. Andre Ward, you need to stop pump faking with the comebacks. You know what I'm saying? And I want to be very clear too. I'm not calling him a loser. I'm just saying that because the word rhymes with snoozer. You know, people get offended. And anyway, I mean, you can get offended anyway. You can't do nothing to me. But anyway, the point is that I just think that this is ridiculous. It goes back with the Tom and Jerry style, right? I'm not saying that some fighters like Gervonta Tank Davis, who's personally my favorite fighter, you know, Gervonta Tank Davis, Saul Canelo Alvarez, Clarissa Shields, Junto Nakatani, Terrence Bud Crawford, Brian Norman, guys like Caleb Sweet Hands Plant, guys that are like action-packed guys, David Benavidez, I really like a lot. However, I could objectively remove myself from a situation by personal preference and be like, okay, bet I appreciate other styles of boxing. But when you say that, oh, I don't like Tom and Jerry because it's boring, everything's not going to be the same. It's like saying that you watch basketball and you don't like layups. They should take away layups because they're not as exciting as windmill dunks.
You dumbass.
They're both 2 points. They're both a way to be effective in the game. So with boxing, there's going to be various styles. Every style is not going to be as exciting as the other one. Does that mean that we should dismiss it? Does that mean that we should demean it and try to excommunicate it from the sport? No, part of my fandom for boxing is appreciating the various styles that you could be successful with. You cannot have punch and power and still be successful. You could only have punch and power and still be successful. You could be flat-footed pressure fighter and still be successful. You could be an elusive, evasive, slick fighter and be successful. You could be an offensive fighter, successful, or be a defensive fighter and be successful. That's the beauty of the sport, the sweet science. You see what I'm saying? The hit and don't get hit, or whatever way that you can do, or you can hit first and hit strong. You know what I'm saying? Be like a Justice Hooney, dominate a fight against Fabio Worley, but you still have a chance if you're Fabio Worley because you have that equalizer in that strong hand that you could punch him with and change the whole momentum of the fight. So I feel like I will say this. I really like boxing a lot, and being a former amateur boxer and stuff like that, maybe I like it more than most, but I do feel like you should have a passion and enthusiasm for the sport enough to let you see past your own personal preference. That should not be the limitation to where your objectivity could go. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's no way in hell that Shakur and Teofimo could be a bad fight. That's a great fight. It may not be as exciting as Tank and Teofimo. You know what I'm saying? It may not be as exciting as, I don't know, whoever else you want to say, Beterbiev and Bivol, but it's going to be exciting. In fact, I would anticipate it to be kind of similar to other fights that may not be as exciting to you, but it's a contrasting style. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. Teofimo, he has not been involved in the exciting fights lately, like I said, but we can still appreciate the fact that two accomplished guys are fighting. And you want to hold Shakur Stevenson's performance against Edward De Los Santos against him. I think it took two to tango, meaning that I blame Shakur Stevenson for that terrible performance, but also blame Edward De Los Santos because Edward De Los Santos was a pressure fighter and he didn't execute his pressure. You know what I'm saying? So when you have Shakur and Teofimo in there together, I think that people extremely overstate the fact that Shakur is involved in boring fights. Shakur versus Zapata wasn't boring. Shakur versus Padley wasn't boring. You see what I'm saying? Shakur versus Jamel Herring wasn't boring. Oscar Valdez wasn't boring. You know, and even Teofimo. Like, Teofimo had some exciting fights. And, you know, I'm not going to give him too many compliments, you know, but I got to be honest as well. Like, I thought that his performance against Steve Claggett wasn't good, but it wasn't a boring fight. I don't think his performance against Barbosa was that spectacular, but it wasn't necessarily boring. Now, do I think Barbosa could have did more? Yes. Do I think Teofimo could have done more? Yes, but it wasn't necessarily boring. Now, him and Jermaine Ortiz, I blame both of them. That fight was terrible. But his other fights he was involved, they're not always boring, for better or for worse. George Kambosos, he lost, but it wasn't boring, not to me at least. But anyway, I want to move off that point. You know, I do think it's shameful that people would think that this fight is boring between two of the four kings. How could it be boring? You see what I'm saying? We want this fight to happen. That's why you got to be in tune and know who you are, because the internet will trick you out of your spot. You have to be a real one. And it's been an attack on real ones lately because people will confuse you and make you think that something that is good, that we wanted for the longest, is not good because they don't like it. There's no way in hell, if you like boxing, that you could tell me Shakur versus Teofimo is not a good fight, regardless if it actually comes into fruition and it's actually good on that night of the fight. The fact that we have two young fighters in their prime that are decorated and accomplished, that's enough to build intrigue if you like boxing alone. You see what I'm saying? Now I want to get to these goofballs that are saying that, oh, Shakur Stevenson is just setting up a layup, or he's trying to hand me down a title to Keyshawn Davis by fighting Teofimo.
You dumbass.
And this goes back to what I already covered before, right? First of all, people are stupid because, and if I'm not talking to anybody individually or in particular, but if you get offended, homeboy, if the shoe fits, you got to wear it. Like I said, hey, it's up to you. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not pulling no punches. If the shoe fits, you got to wear it, Cinderella.
Cinderella, night and day, it's Cinderella.
You feel me? So what I'm saying is that it's okay if you want to be disappointed in the way people say things, or if you want to be disappointed in clips and be mad, but I'm tired of all this fake outrage, man. People are mad that Shakur Stevenson said this.
I'm going BTO, yes, get the title, and I'm going vacate, and Keyshawn can get that belt.
And that's a clip. Even in that clip, you could deduce certain things unless you want to perceive it a certain way. Like when I heard that, all I heard was him saying, hey, I'm not going to stay at 140. I just want to fight Teofimo. I'm going to move down. And that's Keyshawn Davis's belt is going to be up for grabs if he wants to get it. But some goofballs, they interpreted it as, oh, Shakur's trying to make an easy path for Keyshawn. Shakur's trying to give Keyshawn a belt. Shakur's trying to set up Keyshawn because it's his friend to get a nice opportunity.
What?
How do you interpret it like that? Anyway, even if it was like that, wouldn't it be the fault of the authoritative bodies, meaning the WBO in this case? Isn't it up to them to regulate their own sanctioning bodies and especially their belts? So I just want to know, in what world did you ever see somebody give somebody a belt? Didn't we see Gervonta Tank Davis go to 140, fight Mario Barrios and go back down to 135?
Yeah.
Didn't we see Roy Jones go to heavyweight to fight John Ruiz and go back down to where he came from?
Yeah.
Didn't we see Canelo go to light heavyweight and fight Sergey Kovalev and Dmitry Bivol go back down where he came from immediately afterwards?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying because they're friends? I mean, Fedora just gave up his WBO belt, and Xander Zayas, who I think is one of the better fighters coming up, he fought Perez. Jorge Garcia Perez, excuse me. Did Fedora set him up for an easy meal, for a layup? That's the WBO again, just like this would be the WBO. Even Keyshawn Davis leaving his belt from 135, he gave the opportunity for Mason and Noakes to win a vacant belt. Is he setting them up for a layup? What do we like? This outrage is ridiculous. And I want to say this too. I want to be very clear. I'm a Tank fan, like I said, but I'm not a Tank fan.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
You feel me? I'm a boxing fan that happens to like Gervonta Tank Davis because he's a great fighter, right? But I feel like a lot of this energy is coming from the ridiculous Tank fans. Like it's like they're trying to overcompensate for some recent developments in the news cycle. Yeah, like Tank fighting Jake Paul. So I feel like they're trying to attack everybody else to make it seem like, oh, they're doing bad too. Bro, there's nothing wrong with Shakur fighting Teofimo. And what Shakur is saying, if you watch the entire interview, instead of making jumping to instead of jumping to a conclusion, an erroneous conclusion based off of a clip, you would see that the gentleman in the clip, shout out to the gentleman and the lady and the gentleman for the interview. If you listen to him, he's about to ask him if Shakur would fight Teofimo. If he beats him, would he fight Keyshawn Davis? So Shakur replied, said, hold on, bro. I'm going to tell you right now before you even get to that question that if I fight Teofimo and beat him, I'm not going to stay at 140. I'm going to vacate the belt, meaning that I'm not going to fight Keyshawn Davis because that's my bro. I'm not going to fight him. Now, if you want to be mad at him not fighting his friend, that's cool. But don't make up some type of facade and some false narrative based off of fake outrage that he's trying to make it an easier pass for Keyshawn. So I want to be clear. So if he was making an easier pass for Keyshawn, are you insinuating, are you implying that Keyshawn is scared of Teofimo Lopez?
If you out here getting fake vagina.
Do you know that Keyshawn Davis allegedly beat up Teofimo Lopez's father for talking out the side of his neck in the gym with Teofimo Lopez present? Does that sound like somebody that would be scared of Teofimo Lopez? Matter of fact, didn't Keyshawn Davis call out Teofimo Lopez? Matter of fact, didn't Keyshawn Davis and Turkey disclose that they were trying to make a fight between Keyshawn Davis and Teofimo Lopez?
You dumbass.
So why would you jump to a conclusion that Keyshawn Davis called his big brother to handle his beef with Teofimo Lopez? He called Shakur to handle Teofimo because he's scared of Teofimo or he can't handle Teofimo himself. No, Shakur and Teofimo was talked about before we even knew who Keyshawn Davis was. Back when we were talking about the four little kings and Shakur Stevenson, Gervonta Tank Davis, Devin Haney, and Teofimo Lopez. We always wanted them to fight. So now that they're about to fight, you have a problem with that too. I know the news cycle is slow and I know you want clickbaits, but can we just keep it boxing? Why y'all have to go in and try to kick some type of narrative for some fake outrage? I'll tell you why. Because that means you are the groupie of whatever fighter you like. So whoever you love as a fighter, you designate everybody else in that area as the enemy. I have no enemies or no or no allies in the sport of boxing, bro. If I like a boxer, I'm going to compliment them. If I like a boxer and they do something that I don't think is right, I'm going to critique them. It doesn't matter if I like them or dislike them or not. Why do y'all get so emotionally involved with strangers that you don't even know? Just enjoy the boxing. There's no way there's no way, shape, or form that you can tell me Shakur versus Teofimo is a bad fight. Now, it might end up being a bad fight when they actually share the ring, just like Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather ended up being a letdown, but the buildup was everything. That's what we wanted. How can you get disappointed in Teofimo fighting Shakur, or Shakur fighting Tank, or Tank fighting Devin, or Devin fighting Shakur, or whatever the combination may be? These are great fights. I don't know how all of a sudden it turned into being a bad fight. And like I said, it's coming from a certain fan base, demographic section of boxing. The boxing that likes Tank. And like I said, I'm a Tank fan, but I'm not a Tank fan. I'm a boxing fan. You understand what I'm saying? I like Gervonta, and I don't like the Jake Paul fight, but I understand it because he's going to get money. However, we shouldn't get mad at his decision and try to make it seem like everybody else's decision is bad too, to try to compensate for your own personal disappointment in him fighting Jake Paul. Like, leave it alone, bro. Let it go, bro. There's no way that you can tell me that Shakur fighting Teofimo is bad because he's trying to clear the way for Keyshawn Davis. No, if Shakur fights Teofimo and he doesn't stay at 140, that's cool. And then if Keyshawn Davis being ranked number 1, he'll have to fight the guy that's next in line. That happens all the time. Check out Xander Zayas versus Garcia Perez. Check out Sam Noakes versus Abdullah Mason. Nobody gets given a belt. You still have to fight for it. So you want to make it seem like it's an easier path. There's no guarantee that Teofimo would fight Keyshawn Davis anyway, because Keyshawn Davis already tried to fight him. Just like this is not Shakur's first time trying to fight Teofimo. In fact, it's nobody's first time trying to fight Teofimo. Tank wanted to fight Teofimo. Devin wanted to fight Teofimo. Shakur wanted to fight Teofimo. Brian Norman wanted to fight Teofimo. Boots was going to fight Teofimo.
Damn. I'm sorry.
Everybody was going to fight Teofimo. So why are you making it seem like Shakur is saying that, oh, I'm going to fight Teofimo to clear the way for my brother Keyshawn Davis? We don't even know when Keyshawn Davis is going to come back. Now, I know he put in that motion to be designated as a number 1 ranked opponent. I mean, the number 1 ranked guy in the WBO. But I don't think he did that because he doesn't want to fight Teofimo. I think he did that because he would want to fight Teofimo. It just matters whichever one of them gets to him first. But anyway, that's it for me, man. I just want to point out the ridiculousness, the hypocrisy, and the nonsense from these imbeciles out here. Whether you are a boxing aficionado working in the capacity of a boxing expert, or you're just some overzealous, super crazed, idiotic fan. Stop it and do better, man. This is boxing. Keep it boxing. I appreciate y'all rocking with me as always. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comment. Don't forget to smack that like button. But most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace. I'm going to keep my foot on y'all neck. Yes, sir. From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.